Hey, Tubby, you got a light for an old leprechaun's pipe?
I'm starved. Haven't eaten in 10 years.
And we're back with episode 8.9 of Monday Night Frights. That's top of the morning to you!
I told you to tea.
Potatoes!
Twiddly dee.
It's our St. Patrick's Day special, Danny, and we're here today to talk about the classic Leprechaun from 1993, which of course is the only sort of Irish horror film that has ever been made.
Of course,
In
yeah.
my eyes, anyway.
It's our cultural touchstone for
It's
horror.
quintessentially Irish.
Try as they will, try as they might. If they steal my gold, they'll be dead by night.
Me gold. So happy St. Patrick's Day. We're a wee bit early, but we'll not see you for another 2 weeks. So we thought, yes. we'll do this week. Worked out nice for us. So we want to start off by saying we hope you have a very safe and enjoyable St. Patrick's Day.
Have a good time, but a responsible time.
A responsible time, definitely. So I did want to wear my Ireland top, but it's a bit too small for me now. It's a long time since I put this Ireland top on.
It's nice.
So
it's right there.
I
forgot to put on something green. Hold on.
Here, you've got Kermit in the back there. He's green.
I have Kermit, yeah.
He may as well be Irish.
He's exactly. He knows it's not easy being green.
Exactly.
Which is just code for being Irish.
I know. Exactly. So yes, we're here today to talk about Leprechaun from 1993. Over 30 years old, this film is now. So it was written and directed by Mark Jones. Mark Jones has previously worked on a lot of classic children's television before. He's worked on Mr. Magoo, mostly animated stuff.
Mr. Magoo?
Mr. Magoo, yeah.
What is a Mr. Magoo? That predates me. What's a Mr. Magoo, Gav?
You don't know Mr. Magoo?
I have no idea who Mr. Magoo is.
Google it. Don't Google, not now, but after the show, go back and Google it. So I think that was kind of late 70s. He was working on that. He's worked on Popeye, The Sailor Man, Heathcliff as well, which was a classic cartoon from back in the day. He's worked on James Bond Jr., which not classic, but still admirable. He was a story editor on the likes of A-Team and some Scooby-Doo. So there you go. So he's the dude's had some good jobs. But his love lies with horror films, and this particular story that he first developed in 1985. It took a long time to get there, but we'll talk a wee bit more about the production and all later on. But yeah, so I don't know about you, but this is a film that it's like tongue in cheek. Yeah, we like it, but we know it's shit. Yeah, I fucking love it. I've always been a fan of Leprechaun, the film. Like I remember watching it as a child, renting it from the video store, and rented it multiple times. And absolutely being terrified of this little leprechaun.
I actually only watched this for the first time maybe like a month ago. And then you said about watching it again. You said about doing it for this. So I was like, right, do I remember enough of it to talk about it without having to watch it again? But you know what? I was actually like, no, I'm happy enough to go watch it again. As you say, it's shit, but it's fun shit. Like, it's the production values aren't great. The acting's not always the most powerful, but it's got that charm to it. It's got that lucky charm to it. That just, like even watching it again, there were so many bits in it that like I remembered and was laughing at, and then wee things I'd forgotten about and was then laughing at. And as you say, like the director, he's obviously influenced by a lot of other horror, because there's a lot in this that I seen and was like, oh, that's there's definitely moments, and we'll talk about them when we get into it. Like, but yeah, I think it is one of those ones that like really appeals to we horror nerds who enjoy that sort of thing. Like, regardless of whether that's the thing, you can get a good bad horror movie, but you can also get bad horror movies. But this is the good bad. This one,
yeah.
It's better than Troll 2. but it's still as fun as Troll 2 in terms of like the cheesy shittiness of it all.
I think
You know?
Troll 2 is more fun to watch because it is so bad. Like it
Mhm,
is a proper like this is so bad. Whereas
mhm.
this is kind of serious. Yes, it's comedy horror, but they do kind of they're serious about how they make it, and it's low
Yeah.
budget, but they give it their all, and I think that has to be respected.
Hmm.
So the official plot, if you haven't seen the film, there will be spoilers, but the official plot for this is a vengeful leprechaun who believes the family has stolen his pot of gold. My pot of gold
My pot of gold.
begins to hunt them down one by one to retrieve every single last coin of his
It
gold.
has to get every
So
single
that's
one.
important because that plays in a little bit later on. Of
But also, it's just very convenient that he has exactly 100 gold pieces.
course.
There's no like little deviations of coins. It's 100 specifically. Is that a thing? I was wondering that after watching it the second time. Is that a thing within Irish lore that they have
Leprechaun lore.
100? Yeah, like, well, I mean, there's a leprechaun museum down in Dublin. We
Uh-huh.
should go sometime. We should go
We
exploring,
should.
which apparently it's not just leprechauns, it's like folklore and how it's been
Yeah.
interweaved through history in Ireland, that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's a leprechaun museum. But I'd love to know, does anybody know? Let us know in the comments below. Is the
hmm
100 gold thing, is that a thing? Or is this just something that the movie makers were like, well, we're going to have him count to 99 and then he's going to have a missing piece and he's going to go buck mad because he's not got his 100th piece? Is that a thing? Or is it just convenience for the story?
No, I think on every pot of gold is 100 pieces. That's the rules.
Them's the
Yeah,
rules.
them's the
Them's
rules.
the
But what
rules.
does he spend it on? Because you can't really spend
It
gold
just pure
coins
rubs
anymore.
it. Sure, that fucking the
He
start of
rubs
that
one
movie,
out.
he's just fucking rubbing his gold. Like
I
when he's
know.
fucking doing his whole like try as they will, try as they might. He's just sitting fucking fondling his gold. Like
He just loves it.
with his big manky fingernails. Ugh.
I love it as well. Right, so famously, the Leprechaun is, portrayed by Warwick Davis, who
Mhm.
uh, you know, rose to fame in The Return of the Jedi, and now is,
We loves
probably
them.
yeah, we do love him. He obviously played Willow in Willow as well. That was probably his big standout role, and then he went to do the Leprechaun. I don't think he did much in between those couple of years, so this was kind of a really big role for him. And he sort of ran with it, man. I mean, he did a couple of sequels, and that helped him get jobs in other films. And obviously, the type of roles that he's playing is a bit sort of the same, but
Yeah,
that's to be
but
predicted.
I think like with this here, I think of all the cast, like he's having the most fun. Like him and Ozzy. I think
Oh
him and
fuck!
Ozzy and Alex are probably like my if the whole
Don't talk
film
to
had
me
just
about fucking
been
Aussie.
Matt, are you not an Aussie fan?
Mm-mm,
Are you?
mm-mm.
Oh, okay, interesting. I
I'll tell
think
you why though. In a
okay,
bit, in a bit, in a bit.
in a
Let's
bit,
go.
in a bit, okay, but yeah, like I think Warwick Davis is definitely he's having the most fun, and then like Ozzy and Alex, I think are the next having the most fun. And if this film had just been about like some like smart ass kid and his dumb adult friend against the leprechaun, I think I would have been even happier if that had just been the case. The
Yeah.
whole Jennifer Aniston like little side romance thing, her being like city slicker girl, 90s woman, uh against the kind of country bumpkin guy, but he's all muscly and hot. I was kind of like, again, it was really sort of obvious from the get go what that was about, and
Yeah.
it felt a bit shoehorned in against the rest of it.
I think that was quite a sort of generic
Yeah.
subplot in a lot of these films anyway, and to be fair, Jennifer Aniston is pretty good in it, and
Yes.
she does have a bit of an arc,
Yeah, she
by
has.
the start and the finish of the movie.
I think she's probably the only one taking it as seriously. Taking it seriously.
Yeah.
She plays it quite straight for the most part. Along with your fellow plays Nathan. But like I think everyone else, even the dad, I think is having fun in this. Like,
Uh-huh.
and the O'Grady's at the start, I think
Oh my
everyone
God.
knows exactly what this is,
hmm
except for Jennifer Aniston. She played it quite straight.
I think in these kind of films you need to have that straight role
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
because if you don't, then the other comedy around that straight role doesn't work as well.
Mm.
So you need to have at least one straight person. That's why in famous comedy duos. There's always that one straight guy and then the sort of silly guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jennifer Aniston, it was one of her big first roles. This actually came out like a year before Friends, which is crazy. Like
Yeah.
for some reason, I felt there was more time between that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and up to this point, she'd had small bit parts in like US TV shows and a couple of smaller films, but this was really a kind of a big stepping stone for her. And you know, she is good in it, man. She is
Yeah,
good.
she is good. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I think she is. Like I said, she does give it her all, and she plays
Mm,
it as straight as possible. And I think the scene where she goes to the nursing home is great. I think that's
mm,
very apart. Obviously the stuff with the leprechaun and it's silly, but the actual shots of her on her own going through the hallways and stuff. Like, I
hmm
think there's something. I think this film has a lot of influences from Nightmare on Elm Street in terms of
Oh
how
yeah,
it's
of course.
shot
Yeah,
and
yeah.
colored and stuff, and that scene in particular, and trying to make it. They do their best to try and make it disorientating, even if it
Mm,
is just tilting the camera slightly from side to side. But
mm,
yeah, that was one where I'm like, this is horror. I think this movie makes attempts at doing some horror, but the way it's edited, sometimes it lags a bit, so you don't get
mm,
like I think it's attempts at jump scares, but because of the way it cuts, it's almost like, oh, oh,
hmm
he's there. Oh.
Yeah, they do attempt to try to build a little bit of tension, and there's a few jump scares that don't really work. And I
Mhm.
think again that's partly towards because of the editing, but also partly because of the music
Yeah.
and the score, which I did enjoy, but it's very playful. We'll get into it a little bit later, but
Oh man, I do love it. There's a specific bit we'll talk about, but I do actually there was bits of it where, yeah, as you say, it kind of doesn't help, but also I think it adds to the whimsy and charm of the whole thing. I
it's
think it's
very
what makes
yeah,
it
it's very
endearing.
whimsical and playful.
Yeah.
But it creates this sense of that, oh, there's not a lot of stakes here. Yeah, it's quite, it's not a lot of tension, and it doesn't
Mhm.
help the tension, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Is it true? Is it true that Jennifer Aniston doesn't really associate with this film anymore? Is it? It's one of those things you read where it's like, oh, she won't talk about it, she won't sign anything for it. Do you think
I
there's
don't
truth to that,
know how
or
much truth's there, but I do feel like once she got her part in Friends and became this cultural icon, the Rachel hair, her and Ross, everything, it was ma fucking massive. I don't think people fully understand how big that was unless you watched it and went through it. But then she went on and had a very successful film career after that. But
Mhm.
I do feel like perhaps she did push it away a bit when people would bring it up. I think now, as with most projects that early projects that people have, they after 25, 30 years, they do tend to embrace them a lot more and
Yeah.
celebrate them for what they are. And I think now I would imagine that if she was being interviewed, and I haven't seen any interviews from her talking about this, um, but I do want to go now and look it up. But or at conventions or signings, I think she would fully embrace it
Yeah.
because it's been so long now, and you just have to celebrate that. Like, if you don't,
Yeah.
what's the point? You know what I mean?
I think it has like it definitely is one of those films. I imagine because it's one of those things. Leprechaun has become like part of the culture. I mean, it's referenced in fucking Wayne's World and
hmm
stuff. It's I think it is a lot
I was going to do that, man.
We're
I was
going to
going to
talk
get,
about it.
I'm a
I'm the
leprechaun.
leprechaun.
Class, love it.
But
Absolutely love it. I'm so
yeah,
glad you mentioned that because that's so
yeah.
good, man.
That was my first, I seen that before I seen the actual film Leprechaun.
Yeah.
And it's such a thing now. And I mean, even like going and looking for it on Amazon, like they're all there ready to watch, like the whole thing, and it looks like they've all had new title cards made for
Mm.
their thumbnails and stuff, and it shows that it's a film series that's not quite dead yet. I mean, what the last one was 2018 was
Yeah,
they had a
well, you know, I wanted to wait till the end of this, but
oh
there is a reboot happening.
oh.
Lionsgate have announced that they are working on a reboot. I don't
Is it going to
know.
be a film or series? Do
No,
we
I think
know?
it's a film. Yeah, they want to reboot the series as a franchise. I mean, it's there. It's ripe. Do it,
And
man.
is Warwick coming back for it? Is he
Well, I don't think
reprising his
so. I
role
think
or?
that was the main thing was that Warwick wasn't involved. Doesn't mean that he won't be
Mm,
involved by the time it goes into production. I can imagine
Papa Leprechaun with his
I
boy.
don't think he would be involved as the main Leprechaun unless there is other Leprechaun characters or maybe just as a cameo. It would be nice.
Hmm.
Because again, I think Warwick he did 4 Leprechaun movies before he really, became who he is today and involved with all the Star Wars stuff. But I
Hmm.
think that, he would, I think, fully embraces it now as well. I met him last year and got my big Leprechaun poster signed by him.
Hmm.
Um, and he wrote Lep and he wrote Me Gold and signed it, so yeah, I mean, I'm sure outside of his Ewok things that he
Hmm.
signs, I think probably Leprechaun is, without a doubt, would be the second most popular thing that he does get signed at conventions. So I love it,
Hmm.
man. I'm glad it's getting the love now
Yeah.
after all these years. So you mentioned it previously that it has influenced films, but it is very influenced by other little creature type films, usually from the 80s. So this was released in 93.
Hmm.
Production started in late 91, early 92, I think, and heavily influenced by the likes of Critters, even Gremlins to a
I
certain
was going to
extent.
say there's little gremlins in
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
Ghoulies a wee bit.
A wee bit of
There's
ghoulies.
another
Yep.
film called Munchies from the 80s, which I think was influenced it too. I keep going back to Critters, and not just because of the little creatures, but because of the whole sort of set
Even
on
the
a
setting.
farm, the barnyard.
Yeah.
It's mostly one location,
Hmm.
and there's a sort of powerful female in it with the big gun at the end, really, that kind of just reminded me of Critters a lot. So,
Hmm.
and those films were small budget, but they made a fair bit of money and then went on to become cult films, which spawned
Yeah.
franchises, which this film ended up doing as well. So
It did it too. Yeah.
the budget in this film was just under 1 million,
That's
um,
yeah.
which is very admirable considering what
Hmm.
they were able to achieve with it, and it was hugely successful. It made over 8.5 million,
Fuck.
which was crazy,
Hmm.
and obviously, I think it was 10 million worldwide. It made so 8.5 US domestic, and then the rest was worldwide. But there wasn't much of a release worldwide. I think it hit VHS quite soon after its release, and then just became the sort of cult title that it became. It was produced by a company called Trimark Pictures,
Hmm.
who that company was formed in 1984. They were very much about low budget horror films and low budget genre films in the 80s, throughout the whole 80s, right into the early 90s. They did films like Warlock,
Hmm.
um, and Dead Alive or Brain Dead. Peter Jackson's Brain Dead
Yeah.
was obviously one of their big titles in 1992. Dolly Dearest was one of their titles. Kickboxer 2. They did a lot of sort of like martial arts, science fiction stuff as well. But Leprechaun was their first in-house feature film that they fully funded and produced themselves, and it was a huge success for them. Hence why they ended up making 6 more sequels in total. Uh, but they were bought over by Lionsgate in 2000. But as I briefly mentioned at the start, Mark Jones started writing or came up with the idea, the concept of this, started writing the script in 1985. So he was
Hmm.
been working on it for quite a while, and um, the 100% influenced by Lucky Charms commercials in America. If you've ever seen the Lucky Charms commercials, it's quite stereotypical of what Americans think that leprechauns are, and
Hmm.
the original script was more horror based. It was actually quite dark, and horrific in tone. But whenever they got Warwick on board, the way that Warwick portrays the character has got comedy elements to it, and he's having a lot of fun, as you mentioned. And yes, that was why there was more comedy, because when he read the script and started sort of getting into the role, I think the way that he played it, was very suggestive to Mark Jones, who then kind of tweaked a few things and made it a wee bit more comedic.
Hmm.
And it does work because I think if it was straight up horror, I think this film probably would have been forgotten about. And
Yeah.
but I think because of that charm, shall we say,
Yeah.
from work. It was appealing to non-horror fans as well, and it was able to sort of broaden its audience a bit more and become more successful.
Yeah, you've got that iconic character who, it's sort of the same as Freddy. Freddy is a awful, scary dream demon, but he's got charm, he's got humor, and I think the Leprechaun does that really well too. I think the humor's a bit more silly and slapsticky at times compared to Freddy. But he's still, I think he's still got that iconic status
Mhm.
of being able to sort of frighten us. He's not as frightened as Freddy. But he's frighten us but also make us laugh. And
Mhm.
I think that if you can get that right, you're on to a winner.
I
Like, of
think
course you're gonna get a franchise.
yeah, this has got a tone more sort of close to like a Freddy 4 or Freddy 5 in
Yeah.
terms of Freddy being a character and how he is, uses his one-liners. It's not as well written,
No. There's a
but
lot there's a lot of rhymes.
there's a lot of rhymes and
There's a lot
riddles,
of
and some of them
rhymes.
don't fully make sense.
No.
And I actually wish they would have, went a bit further with the riddles and made that more meaningful.
Hmm.
Instead of just him randomly saying things when he, they were like, oh, fuck, we need a wee line of dialogue here. What will we do? We'll just throw in a random riddle.
No.
Um, but for the most part, it does work.
Mm.
So the reviews were super negative. I think most of the sort of critics were like, "This is just absolutely awful, terrible acting, production, obviously quite a low production." Which I don't think you can sort of bash the production too much. If you've got a
No.
million, if you've got $1 million, you can only do what you can do with $1 million. Like, and I think they did
Yeah.
pretty good. They kept it mostly to one location. They go into town and the hospital a little bit later, but it is
Hmm.
mostly that farmyard, and they do it pretty well.
Yeah.
Just pardon me. But I think also that they were one of the criticisms is that there wasn't much of a visual style to the film, and it was kind of thrown together. And I can see that. I think that's
Yeah.
legitimate criticism of the film. Um, or the sort of ideas in the film were a wee bit generic. But I will
Yeah.
say, I think that this film, we talked about some of the films that we thought uh, this film was influenced by. I
Hmm.
think one of the films that I kept going back to was Killer Clowns from Outer
Mm,
Space, which we
yeah.
just screened a couple of months ago. We absolutely love
We
Killer
love it.
Clowns, one of
Yeah.
our best screenings ever. Fucking love
Mm.
it. When you think about the structure of that film and how certain things pay off, it's nowhere near as good as Killer Clowns,
Hmm.
but it's kind of similar in that sense that it uses a stereotypical character, generic type character, and it takes everything that's involved with that character and it tries to be original and interesting in how they use it, like the four-leaf clover, for instance.
Yeah. The idea of the four-leaf clover being lucky,
Yeah, it's like lucky and it's very
and
rare
yeah.
and it's
Hmm.
it's almost like a magical item. But I love
Yeah.
that. I
Even
love
though
that.
the fucking four-leaf clover bit fucking cracked me up just with the whole, what am I supposed to do? Just
Uh,
make believe it'll happen.
I
Oh,
know,
it's there.
I know. I don't know where that came from. That whole you've got to believe, because that was one of the things I wrote down. I was like, that just came out of nowhere because they didn't. That wasn't really a theme. I suppose it
No.
was a bit of a
It
theme
says kind
with
of
Ozzy.
for
It was maybe
with
because he was
Ozzy
the
and
only one
Jennifer
that believed.
Aniston. Yeah, and then Jennifer Aniston's whole thing is like, oh, it couldn't possibly be, and then she has to believe in order to
Yeah.
defeat, yeah.
But yeah, I know growing up, like the four-leaf clover was always kind of like a rare magical thing. You could
Mhm.
never find one that was like it didn't exist. So I suppose that's where they were coming from. But I love that that's kind of like the leprechaun's kryptonite.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't kill a leprechaun because he's like
Can't
this
just
he's
shoot
this
him or burn him. Yeah.
immortal magical deity that can only be destroyed if his skin touches a four-leaf clover.
Hmm.
But then we find out that it doesn't actually destroy him. Not
No, not
forever.
really. Yeah.
So kind of hypocritical. But
Mm.
also other little things like um him being a shoe shiner.
Oh,
Like,
fuck.
what the fuck?
Don't
That's
fucking start me about the shoe
I
stuff.
shine the
Oh
shoes.
man, I seen your boots look like they need a shine.
Like, where I don't know, is that a thing in Leprechaun lore? Like, it's not something that I
I
sort of
think is there
think of
not
straight away anyway.
is it not like the borrowers like pixies or would come into the help cobblers? Is that not a thing?
Mm. Ah, yes,
So
yes,
maybe they're
yes.
kind of crossing over like different fairy stories
Uh-huh.
for that. But yes, the shoe shine thing's not something I necessarily associated with leprechauns. So yeah, again, interesting on the buckles. Do you like my buckles? Buckles, which again is a weapon.
Yeah, I do like that he uses the buckles
It's
later to
wild.
slash Ozzy. I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of funny. But what definitely one of the sort of pros about this film, I think, is the sort of makeup and the prosthetics. Yeah, at times it does look a wee bit amateurish, but I think for the most part it's pretty good. I wish that the Leprechaun had been kept in the dark a little bit more at the start.
Yeah. Yep.
Which they in the original the O'Grady scene, which I'm really eager to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Um, the Leprechaun's sort of in the shadows a little bit, but then he comes out of the shadow, and then he's out pretty much the whole
It's
film.
it is that initial scene where he's introduced where, Mr. O'Grady's hearing the Mary had a little lamb from the suitcase and please open the suitcase, I can't breathe. Um and she opens it and it, steps back and it just opens and you see like the wee red eyes. And I
Mm.
was like, that's great. But then it cuts to him like stepping out of the suitcase and just be like, "Do you like my buckles?" And then it's just him there. And I was a bit like, yeah, it was one of those moments where I was like, that if that was now, it would have been either a jump scare or something would have happened. They would have like scuttled off into the shadows and we wouldn't have seen him again for a while. But yeah, it basically is like straight up just be he's like, here's the leprechaun. I mean, it opens with the scene with the leprechaun like sitting in his wee fucking like castle turret
Blair,
steps,
yeah.
fondling his gold. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but you
So
don't, again, you don't see his face or anything. You sort of see the shadow and stuff. I don't mind that so much.
yeah,
But that could have built up the tension a little bit more.
yeah.
And then the actual reveal would have been, more effective.
Hmm.
But even the fact if they just showed the eyes and then cut away and then had her scream and
Yeah.
Mr. O'Grady being like, "What the fuck?" and then
Hmm.
going and seeing the dead body, I think would have been a lot more effective in that,
Well,
sometimes.
we wouldn't have got that great line from the leprechaun whenever he's like looking down the basement steps.
What was the line?
Oh well, do I smell some tea brewing? Fucking
Oh,
when
aye, of
he's looking
course.
down, when he's looking down at Mrs. O'Grady's body, and he's just like, oh, oh well, do I smell some
Because
tea
that's
brewing?
that's obviously something else there you're obsessed with
Oh,
is
we love a good cup of
we love a
tea,
good
man.
cup of
We
tea, boy.
love a good cup of tea.
See that old coffee stuff?
Um,
Oh no. Oh
no,
no.
no, not
Easy,
not
eh?
for me. Give us a good cup of
A
tea.
wee cup of Joe.
Um,
Wee brew with a bicky.
oh, fuck that. I was pure cackling, laughing at him,
I
just being
know.
like, "Do I smell the tea brewing?" Oh, fuck.
I do feel
That.
like there was some maybe reshoots like sort
Hmm.
of in desperation to get some scenes in there because as you said kind of earlier you touched on the editing's a wee bit dodge at sometimes and you think this is
Yeah,
a wee bit disjointed,
yeah.
like things don't quite link in together, so that was maybe one of the negatives. But going back to the makeup, it was done by a guy called supervised by a guy called Gabe Bartolos, who's worked on he was part of the crew on Darkman, which we fucking love, of course.
Mm,
Go
hmm,
back and watch our
hmm.
Darkman episode. He's worked on Gremlins 2 as well,
Nice.
and Stuart Gordon's film Dolls. He's worked on that as well, so he knows his shit. But I think this was one of his first major kind of supervisor roles where he was like the main guy.
Yeah.
Um, we'll go into the O'Grady stuff in a minute, and we'll talk about a few of the scenes, and we'll go through the film a
Okay.
wee bit. But I
Yeah.
wanted to touch on the music a little bit. It was uh, the original score was done by a guy called Kevin Kinner, who you may know because he works on the Clone Wars. He's very
Oh.
famous. He worked on the Clone Wars. He worked on I think he's worked on like Rebels as well and some other Star Wars uh projects during the years.
Hmm.
Um, And actually, if you go back and listen to the score and kind of close your eyes and just listen to it,
Hmm.
you will get some of the Clone Wars stuff. That kind of playful, whimsical kind of fantasy feeling, very sort of
Yeah.
like adventurous kind of, look into the stars, adventurous type vibe, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah,
If you go
yeah,
back and listen to it, it does have that vibe to it. And while it is very good, it doesn't quite fit in with some of the scenes that
yeah.
the music's attached to. Especially there's a scene where the leprechaun goes to the sort of antiques store to
Hmm.
find his pot of gold, his coins. And he kills the guy quite ruthlessly. It's quite.
It's man, it's hilarious, but yeah, it's probably the most brutal death in the entire film. Is it the only death by pogo stick?
I don't know.
It's
Like
a
he kills him with a pogo stick, so I don't know.
yeah. Jumping on his lungs. But yeah, it's quite that's probably there is like a good bit of blood in this film. There is blood and gore in this film, but that's definitely the bloodiest scene of them all because your
Yeah.
man's just fucking spewing blood up in his
Mm.
chest, caving in and all.
D-
But yeah, as you say, it's really the music makes it really playful in nature.
Yeah,
Uh,
doesn't quite work. It just doesn't. There's not
yeah,
a connection there. And
there's a wee bit.
it's not because of the music is bad. It's good, but it just doesn't
Yeah,
quite connect.
yeah, it's the bit as we've already kind of talked about when the leprechaun first appears. It's because Mr. Grady releases him from a briefcase, and there's the music is kind of being sort of tense and spooky, but then when he, like I said, he doesn't like jump out. There's not a jump scare. He just kind of like steps out of the suitcase, buckles first, and is like, "Do you like my buckles?" But as he is stepping out, it plays like his theme is kind of like a wee Irishy, jiggy,
Mm,
fantasy sort of sound, and that plays over his like first appearance, and it kind of almost makes him seem like not bad.
yeah,
It's kind of just like diddly dee, and it's you're like, oh, that's silly. It
yeah,
doesn't make it set him up to be spooky.
yeah. I do feel like they did try to put in some. Oh, we need to put in some sort of traditional Irish, you know,
Yeah, even
notes
the
that
fucking
sound traditional.
the opening fucking titles are all done in like a
Yeah,
Celtic-ish font.
I know.
Because of course, it's the name of the leprechaun. We've got to
Of
make it
course, you
as
have to.
Celtic as
Do you know
possible.
why? Because people watching this, Irish people would not have been able to read it if it had
Well,
been in any other font, because that's, we only
we
see in
can't.
Celtic.
Comic Sans, what?
See in Celtic.
What's Times
Uh,
New Roman?
do you know one of the things that I do feel like they should have added?
Mm.
Um, why was there no potatoes?
Not a single solitary spud.
Why? Why
Where,
could when they
where
were
the
doing this,
spuds?
they were doing this thing where the four-leaf clover is his kryptonite and he's a shoe shiner, so you could distract him.
Mhm.
There's a scene where they throw shoes at him and it
Fuck,
distracts him,
man. That's
which
what I
is
was getting
brilliant.
ready to talk about the fucking shoe chucking
Brilliant.
scene.
Oh! And he keeps running to pick
He
them up.
keeps running for,
Oh!
but there's a couple of shots where there's a couple of shoes chucked at, and I'm like, are they trying to hit him? They actually trying to like welly him with a
I
boot.
know. Sure, that would have done nothing anyway.
Well.
But why could they not have done this thing where he sort of loses his power? And I know he does because the goal gives him the power back. But
Mhm.
why could he not have been like, oh, I'm weak, I'm weak. I need potatoes.
I need
And
a
he just
spud,
crawls and
yeah.
there's a wee sack of spuds and he just eats one and he
Mhm.
feels more,
Yeah,
powerful and
gives him
strong.
a little hit.
Or
Um,
a wee bit of soda or something.
yeah,
Or a
like
wee
yeah, there's certain
fudge,
things. A wee bit of fudge.
a wee bit of
A
fudge.
Guinness just
I know.
fucking pulls a Guinness out.
Fudge is bread, by
Um,
the way,
oh
for
yeah,
people,
yeah,
that
fudge, fat
yeah. Potato bread.
fudge.
Yes,
Just to be clear, um,
we're not being
uh,
dirty.
no, a fucking bit of vegetable roll.
Uh-huh. So one of the things I do love is I love that he can mimic people's voices. I just think,
Yeah,
we don't need to know why he can do that.
no,
It makes sense because, again, Freddy Krueger can do that.
hmm
He picks and chooses when he mimics people's voices. And it
yeah.
always works. It's something in these kind of horror films where you're like, "Oh, how can we get this to work? What can we do? We'll just make him mimic people's voices."
It's really sinister because obviously the first time we hear him mimicking again is the briefcase scene when he's mimicking like a small child singing Mary Had a
Hmm.
Little Lamb and then being stuck. But the bit that really got me with the mimicking was the Mrs. O'Grady when Dan O'Grady finds his wife
Mm.
down in the cellar and like he's already seen the leprechaun. He knows it's the leprechaun is there because he's like was he's mimicking Mrs. O'Grady at first and is like, uh oh Dan, um, won't you tell me where my gold is? Go on, tell me. And he walks into the room holding the fucking tray with the fucking the tea is still fucking steaming out of the teapot, and then he's just like, "Your wife makes a lovely pot of tea, Dan. Dan, my boy." He always,
Hello.
Dan, my boy. And the leprechaun stands behind Mrs. O'Grady's body and fucking like moves her head and does her voice and stuff. And it's just like, I'm just a nice little leprechaun. I was like, that's fucked, because he already knows that you are like the one mimicking his wife. You don't need to fucking keep tormenting him with his wife's dead body, using her like a fucking puppet, you demented little leprechaun.
Yeah, it's like a ventriloquist dummy. We should have mentioned that this all started because
All kicks off.
Dan O'Grady, the old man at start, it's sort
From
of
someone in a limousine.
sort of in the prologue. Yeah, he shows up at his sort of house in the country somewhere in a limousine, pissed. Obviously, he's drinking because he's Irish. Of course, he is.
It's a big bottle of Jameson.
Oh, aye.
Of
Oh, aye,
course
they
it's
made sure
Jameson.
Jameson whiskey.
They got
Absolutely.
Jameson, yeah.
So he's blocked, and he has been back home in the old country. He went back home to his old ma had died, so he
Back
went
in the motherland. but
back to
Mama's
home to her
dead.
funeral. But his wife didn't go. I don't know why. So he's now come back to the States, and he's a wee bit too happy for old Mrs. O'Grady, who thinks, "Hang on, why are you happy? Why are you drunk? What's going on here?"
Why are you arriving home in a limo? We have no
I
money.
know. But while he was back home in Ireland, he came across a wee leprechaun, as you do when you're out walking in the country.
Of course. Yeah,
We've all done it.
I found 5 today.
I know. We've all done it, man. We've all bumped into a leprechaun or a banshee somewhere. Happens. You know, it happens. So not only did he bump into this leprechaun, but he stole his pot of gold.
He held him prisoner
He
and
did.
made him tell him where the gold is, because them's the rules.
How did the leprechaun get back? You know.
Sure, he follows him because sure, Dan's like, it's whenever the leprechaun reveals himself to Dan, Dan's like, I knew I should have killed you back in Ireland. So yeah, the leprechaun's like followed him over the sea.
I know. Over the rainbow.
Over the rainbow, yeah.
Which appears very quickly.
This film, there's some of the stuff like the leprechaun can teleport teleports into a fucking fridge to lay out of it. He can teleport in different cupboards and stuff. But then like there's a scene later on where he gets like closed out of the house and then can't get back in the house.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's not a lot of consistency.
His magical powers, I suppose, wane every so often. I think that's what they should have pushed a wee bit more, and that would have made it a wee bit more interesting. But sure, why did we need explanation, Danny?
Exactly, that's true.
It was the early 90s.
We didn't need to know why shit happened.
It is the early 90s, but it feels more like an 80s movie. You know, it's sort of dragged in from the 80s. So you're right. Sorry, he didn't kidnap, and he decided just to jump on the rainbow and go across the Atlantic, and he lands back in the States. And he terrorizes the O'Grady's. He kills them. Wants to find the gold. Sorry, he doesn't kill Mr. O'Grady.
Mrs. O'Grady falls down the stairs into the basement, and that's when he does the
head first.
Well,
I might add.
She fucking goes proper down a big old clatter. So she gets a big old fright. I'm sorry, this woman wants to sit up here with me and talk about Leprechaun. But yeah, so she goes down the clatter, and then Dan O'Grady's obviously been out on the lash because he's a rich man now, and comes home and finds her, and then the leprechaun reveals himself, and your wife makes a lovely pot of tea, Dan, my boy. Fucking Dan, my boy. All of it. Just it's either my boy or my lass. After the end of every fucking sentence, but fucking Dan manages to fucking blast him a couple of times with a revolver into the basement again, and then fucking he's like, your bullets won't stop me forever, Dan. I'll get my gold. So Dan O'Grady fucking picks him up, throws him into a big fucking crate, puts a fucking he's got the shamrock. Of course he gets the shamrock when he gets his gun from the drawer, and
four-leaf clover.
That's when we found out. Yeah, sorry, the 4-leaf clover. Whenever that's how we find out that if it touches the leprechaun's skin, that it'll be done for. Or was it? It takes away his immortality. Is that it?
I think it's a bit like kryptonite as well. Like if he gets close to it, it kind of makes him weak.
Weakens. Yeah,
but it kills him when he touches it.
Yeah.
So he's left this on top of the box, and he hammers the nails into the box. And the leprechaun just goes to sleep.
It fucking, but it's the way he torments him. He's like, "You're not the young man you used to be, and you used to be, Dad. You might have a stroke."
I know.
And he's like, "You may have a stroke," and
And
you're
then,
like,
as if
"What
by
could possibly
magic,
happen?"
Dan O'Grady has a stroke.
While he's
Uh,
trying to light the gasoline,
I know.
he's trying to light the gasoline, and he fucking has a stroke, falls down, the match goes out, and then yeah, everyone just has a big nap. Everybody
Yeah,
has a big sleep for 10
so we
years.
found out later that he does survive, and he goes to like a retirement home, but his
Mhm.
house, obviously goes into auction or something.
It's been fucking 10 years and the man's not aged.
Yeah. No, he hasn't.
Whenever you see him again,
Um,
fucking hanging upside down, he's not aged. Not aged
so
today.
10 years later, Jennifer Aniston and her dad move into this farmhouse, and she's obviously very annoyed because she's like, lived in
City slicker.
She lived in LA before, and now they're in Dakota.
Dakota.
Is it
Is
Dakota?
Dakota? Yeah, yeah.
And it's completely different, so she's very
How does
annoyed.
a wee Irish like mommy and daddy end up in Dakota? How did they end up in some random like bungalow in Dakota?
Uh, these are not the important questions we should be asking.
I did wonder watching it yesterday. I was like, "What are you doing there?
Maybe they
Like,
had family there or something.
what's Dan's job?
He's,
What do
he's
you
retired. He's
do?
an old man.
Are you farmers? There is a barn, but there's no animals. We sing not a single solitary animal about the
No,
place.
there's one cat that we see later. Well, we
Mm.
think we see him.
Oh, we see. Oh.
It's not, or a possum. Oh, it's probably an old possum.
Did a leprechaun just get on my lap?
Uh,
I don't know. Was that cat?
so obviously they move in, and then they end up releasing the leprechaun, and all hell breaks loose. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the other characters. We briefly mentioned Ozzy,
Yeah.
who I'm sorry.
You're not an Aussie fan?
I'm not an Aussie fan.
Aussie makes me laugh because he's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, I mean the character of Ozzy's played by the sort of journeyman actor Mark Holton, who for me the reason why I hate him is because he plays Francis in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh.
So who is Pee-wee's neighbor, and I've hated him ever since I saw Pee-wee. Ever since I saw that film, I've hated him just because he absolutely terrifies me. His face is probably one of the most punchable faces in the history of cinema. A lot, him and the wee guy from Green Mile.
Oh
The
yeah.
wee
Yep,
the wee
yep.
officer from Green Mile who kills the mouse.
Yeah, that one I
Uh,
agree with. Aussie not so much, but yeah, I agree with the Green
I
Mile
would
one.
see
Yeah.
go back. Not Ozzy. I'm not saying Ozzy the character. I'm saying that
Mhm,
this is the reason why I hate Ozzy. It's because
mhm.
of Mark Holton's very, very good portrayal of Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So go back and watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure and tell
Green
me
Mile.
that Francis isn't one of the biggest cunts in the history of cinema. Just his
Mhm,
fucking face, man. I hate him. Fucking hate him. This face terrified me for years. I don't know. I don't know why, but it just did.
mhm.
No offense to Mark Holton. He did a good job. He obviously is a good actor if he can get that reaction out of me when I was a child, and even now when I'm a bit older. But so I hate Ozzy. I know he's supposed to be kind of mentally challenged. They actually touch on it. I forgot that they
Mhm.
did touch on it later in the film.
Man, but it's how they touch on it in the film. It's the bit whenever so obviously they've Ozzy and Alex have kept the leprechaun's gold because they want to pay to fix Ozzy's brain.
I know.
It's so dumb. And then when Jennifer Aniston's like, you can't just pay to fix somebody's brain. And Alex is like, the kid, a fucking child, is like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I know, but Ozzy doesn't know that.
I
And you're
know.
just like, fucking hell, you're just saying this man's fucking, he's got fucking learning difficulties and he's going to fucking pay
Yeah.
for his brain surgery.
And it's that bit where Alex is like, "Oh, we'll fix it," and then nobody can laugh at you, and then Ozzy's like, "They all laugh at me,"
Yeah.
and they're like, "Mate, yes, you're obviously fucking."
But he's just like, it's one of those things, even watching it, because at the start, he's kind of going over like conspiracy alien shit, like he's seen aliens and all. And it's just like, there are people online who be like, just talking about fucking aliens and shit.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean
I
they're
know, but
dumb.
I suppose back in you know
Mm.
30
I
years
love
ago.
his I love his wee fucking shirt. I love his wee paintbrush shirt.
See, this is another thing that annoys me because he's clearly mentally challenged. He's got something autistic, or he's on the spectrum, or they never really define what his
It was
issue
the early
is.
90s.
Yeah, I'm
It's
assuming he's autistic or something because he's a grown man, but he's got, the brain of a child.
Mhm.
Um, but somehow he's still got this job where he paints stuff. But
Yeah.
so you loved what he was wearing. I fucking hated it because I was
You
like,
hear it?
they've dressed him up like a character from fucking Playdays.
They infantilize him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um, and fair enough, maybe that's something that he would have worn back then, or maybe he just enjoys wearing that stuff. But then he pours a fucking tin of paint on himself by
yeah. Yes.
accident,
Blue paint. Yeah.
and he just wears those clothes the whole way through the film. At no point did he think, I'm covered in paint. Literally covered in paint all over my face. He washes his face, by the way.
Hmm.
And he gets it off very well. Good job. He must have been using good soap. But his clothes is pure covered, and at no point he goes, I think I should go probably and change some clothes here.
There's no
Like,
time. There's a leprechaun running riot. There's no
I
time
bet
for changing clothes, Gav.
this is all before the Leprechaun shit kicks off, and he could have just came out there and went, do you know what? I'm just going to. Will you just drive me up home and I'll just change? Like he even goes out for dinner later on in the fucking paint covered overalls.
I feel I feel like it's just the fact that he's like going out being a wee fucking painty stinker that you're annoyed about. Is it a texture thing, Gav? Are you just
Nah,
worried that
nah.
he's gonna be all covered in paint?
I just don't like that he didn't change his clothes.
Just why didn't you fucking change your clothes?
It's
You
not
wee
even the fact.
migger.
It's not the fact that his overalls are covered.
Hmm.
He's like proper covered, like his t-shirt is pure covered. It's not. It's not just like, oh, a painter, after a day's work, goes out and gets some food. And fair enough, that's his job. He's covered in paint. His hands are dirty, or a farmer or something similar like that. You get that. That's fine.
Yeah.
His whole clothes is pure covered, and at no point, so pure soaking as well. No point he goes, I should probably change here. But do you know why?
He's got
Because
he's got the
he's
dumb.
got he's yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's
That's
got
it.
the
He's a
dumb.
child. He's a child.
And they gotta pay for his to get his brain fixed.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought yeah, Aussie, but again, I think that's sort of him and Alex. So Alex is the like young kid who is Nathan who runs the business, his younger brother, but he's also like really clued in and really smart.
Yeah.
His kind of opening line when he meets Jennifer Aniston's dad is the dad says, "Oh, is there anything I can do to help you while you're doing the work?" And Alex, a child, says, "Oh no, our liability insurance won't cover for that
Hmm.
if anything happens to you." So
Hmm.
obviously he's clued in. He's a smart boy, smart kid, but he's also a wee bit of a scarer, a wee bit of a troublemaker. He's
Of
fucking
course.
shooting things at Ozzy with his fucking slingshot and all. He's a bit like he does love Ozzy, but he also gives him a bit of a hard time, doesn't he? He kind of bullies him a wee bit, which is a bit lousy. Picking on
He
it,
does
I
a
don't
it
know.
does a wee bit, but sure, they're having
Yeah.
banter. They're having banter.
It's all bands. It's all bands. But
Do you know what else is banter? The fact
mm,
that they're painting the house red and blue.
I'm blue
Why?
because they had to get rid of all the green, white, and gold colors
I
beforehand.
know. They had to level it out and be like, right, we've got a lot of green stuff here. We have to put a wee bit of red and blue in there,
There's
just
something
for the
very
just for the Protestants, just
there's
for any
something very Irish about this house. Better change that up.
just for any British people that might be watching this. But I mean, why would you paint a farmhouse red and blue? Like proper, like not even like just wee hints of it, like proper blue
The
and
whole
then
thing.
proper red later on, because
Mm.
we have to appeal to American audiences as well.
Yeah,
So we
it's
better put a wee bit of patriotism in there.
patriotism.
I know.
Yeah.
So I love the name of their company as well. Super,
Oh,
super original. Where did they
oh
come
my
up with
God! I
that
was
name?
gonna mention this too. I want a T-shirt of it. I want a T-shirt with
Uh,
on. You can get them. I found them. I want one.
Good. Get me one
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Okay.
So three guys that paint.
Three guys that paint.
That is
Straight
genius.
to the point.
Absolute genius.
I need some guys that paint.
Hmm.
Look up in the phone book. Oh, look, there's three guys that paint. Just what I need.
I know.
Three guys that paint. Except
Yeah.
it's technically two men and a child that paint,
Yeah.
or a
Well,
man,
one man and two children.
one man, two children that paint. I swear it's not slave labor or child
Uh,
labor. Yeah,
he must be loving it. Nathan must be like, happy days. I'm giving these guys like 20
yeah.
cents.
Pure scalps. Yeah.
Just buying them like, their lunch, just a wee
Ex-
cheeseburger or something. They really should have called Nathan Seamus
Oh, we
and
Seamus.
called Alex Oshin.
Yeah.
And who's the other guy? Ozzy.
Aussie.
Um, they should
Uh,
have called him
Owen.
Owen or Porrig.
Mm-hmm. We Potter.
Yeah.
Oh, we done Potter.
Wee porrig.
Oh.
So we get the Leprechaun jumps out, scares the shit out of them. Ozzy sees him. They don't believe Ozzy. We'll run through this pretty quickly. They don't believe Ozzy because he's a bit silly. He's a bit childish.
He talks about aliens and shit.
He
Yeah.
needs his brain fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, they hear the tricycle. They hear the bell.
Mm-hmm.
Weird shit happens.
No, not even that. The first thing is fucking Jennifer Aniston's going to get like something paint or something out of the back of the truck, and she's getting it's not even like the back, her thigh or something. It's the fucking like her ankle. Like who the fuck?
I know.
Nathan would have had to be so obviously her and Nathan have had a wee bit of a flirt when they had the first sort of meet cute moment outside the house, and she's been like, "Oh, I'm a strong, independent 90s woman. I ain't scared of nothing. I will live in this house just to prove you wrong, Nathan, because you're a big sexy man, and I need to prove you wrong." But she goes to get paint, and then she's like, "Oh, Nathan, stop it!" But like the leprechaun's under the truck, like
I know.
rubbing at her ankle. Like Nathan would have had to be under the truck. Like, what did she think he was doing? Like fucking crawling in under, like.
But hang on, she watches him walk away.
Yeah.
Behind her into the house.
Yeah.
And like literally 3 seconds later, it's not as if there's like a
Because
few
he
minutes have
sprinted
passed.
from the back of the house around.
Literally
Obviously.
3 seconds. She's walked. Hi, Nathan. See you in a bit. She turns around. She goes over. 3 seconds later, fuck Nathan. Is that you? Stop that.
rubbing me ankle.
A grown man. He's quite big. He's quite chunky. He's thick. He's a bit thick.
He's a muscle daddy.
Thick
Like,
with two C's. Has hid under this pickup truck and is just tickling her ankles. And then obviously it's Lep.
And he gives her a wee scrab.
Scratches her. So that's the first time. And then the dad gets bitten by him.
The dad gets bitten by a cat. There's not a cat. That fucking bit wherever the camera like looks into the like tree hole that the dad stuck his hand into, and the leprechaun's just in there like hee fucking just fucking killed me like.
So lots of crazy shit happens. They eventually realize it is the leprechaun, the tricycle bell. Scary stuff like tricycles.
Because before even all that, so Ozzy's come out from the basement, having been terrified. The leprechaun fucking leaps out of the fucking crate like because Ozzy's knocked the. How's the 4-leaf clover still intact after 10 years? Surely have disintegrated by that point. But anyway, Ozzy knocks it off the top of the crate, so the leprechaun's able to be like and leap out, and then he's like, that's when he's like, "Oh, I see your shoes need a shine. I'll shine them for you." And then he's like, "Where's me gold? Tell me where my gold is, or I'll bite off your ear and turn it into a boot." Again, is this a thing?
Must be. I don't know.
Do leprechauns just turn like human leather into shoes? Is this? I don't know. Let us know in the comments below if you do know. But yes, there's that whole bit, and then Ozzy obviously manages to like escape and tells everybody, and they're all like, "What is up, Ozzy? Stop fucking talking shit." But then they see a rainbow, and Alex and Ozzy go and investigate to see if they can find, Ozzy's like, "Oh, the leprechaun's gold that he's looking for, it'll be at the bottom of the rainbow." And Alex like, "Aye, right, but sure, I'll come with you for the crack." And they get to an old truck. The end of the rainbow is an old abandoned truck, and inside the old abandoned truck, they find a piece of gold that Ozzy accidentally eats because he's dumb. But they also find the fucking pouch. They find Dan O'Grady's pouch full of the other 99 gold coins. So yeah, they end up going. Then Jennifer Aniston gets her fucking ankles fondled and scratched, and Dad gets bit, so they take the dad into the town, and that's when Ozzy and Alex decide, "Oh, we need to go do. Can we go to the collectible shop? We just want to go have a nosy, huh? It's okay." And they go and speak to the fellow, and the fellow's like, "I ain't never seen a coin like this before. Strange markings. It could be worth $500 because it's pure gold, but the historical value is priceless." I don't know why I can remember that.
Nice occasion.
But I don't know.
Hey, priceless.
That day, go get me some gumbo. But yeah, so he's like, "Can I keep a hold of this?" And they're like, yeah, but you'll keep it safe, right? And keep it between us. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll keep it in my safe. It's cool." And then that's when we get the ding ding dinging coming in, because the fucking leprechauns followed them after into the town in a fucking tricycle. It's fucking sped up. Oh fuck, same Warwick Davis fucking in tiny vehicles in this film, like riding around on
I
tiny
love it.
tricycles and tiny cars, fucking killer. And yes, that's when we get the scene then of the like collectibles antique dealer getting whacked by the leprechaun with the fucking with the pogo stick to the chest, and then he fucking gets his wee car. He gets
Yeah,
the wee car is in the collectible shop. Oh, it's
it's
so
like
it's so
it,
whimsical. That scene is whimsical because of the music and all, and how it's a pogo stick, and then he gets a toy car that you can drive and stuff. But it is also really bloody and sinister because even the
yeah,
dad's hand, when the dad's hand
yeah,
gets bit, like the makeup effects on that are really grotesque and
yeah. It's good.
gory.
It's pretty good. I
Hmm.
think. Um, what I liked about that whole sort of sequence was, uh, in the collectible coin store, which just happens to be that this town has a collectible
The
coin store.
walls also very conveniently look like a room in the house.
Yeah, and it's sort of there is stuff that some cool stuff, man. There's this really cool statue
Yeah.
behind the when the guy's looking at the coin, and they've got like rosary beads and stuff because
Mhm.
Catholic, Irish Catholic, they have to have something like
Oh yeah.
that. But yeah, it's just stuff scattered around, so it's like, what house or what room in this house can we use
Yeah.
as and then we'll put stuff randomly around
Yeah.
rather we'll not make it look like a really busy store.
But even like, did you notice at the front of the store, whenever they're like up by the till, there's like stair. It must be like another basement or something. Those are
Uh,
like basement steps. So the
aye.
fact that like is the store in like a basement level of another
They
shop or
must have like
something? I
a
was looking at it,
yeah, a wee storage area down in the
mm,
basement, the dark dank basement.
and that's where they just keep the collectible antique guy.
Hmm. So no, I love it. I love it. And so at this whole sequence, basically Lep is just like a real creepy Irish sinister version of Noddy.
Yeah,
He just drives a
yeah.
wee yellow car.
That's He's got his wee yellow car and he's speeding along at night and he gets stopped by the police.
Oh, I fuck
Oh
me.
fuck! He gets stopped by the policeman. The policeman's like, "What are you doing driving out at this time of night, young man? Shouldn't you be at home in bed?" And Lep's like, "What is it?" He's like, "Don't you be messing with the leprechaun now? I'm 600 years old."
It's fucking
It's fucking
ridiculous, man.
wild. But
Absolutely
it's
ridiculous.
he's like kept all the toys in the car with him as
Mm.
well. So it's just like him being like, "I'm 600 years old, surrounded by all these fucking stuffed
Yeah, and then
animals."
there's like an elaborate chase scene with the cop
Hmm.
through the woods,
Yep.
which I thought was quite a fun sequence. And eventually, obviously, plays hide and seek with the cop. He kills the cop.
Fucking breaks
Uh,
his neck.
yeah,
Fucking
it's quite brutal. And Leprechaun starts kind of hunting them, and they finally realize what they're up against here. And they get to the point
Mhm.
where they realize this leprechaun is some sort of animal. They're not quite sure what it is. I mean, there's that
Yeah.
scene where they shoot him and she says something like, that was no fucking bear.
Yeah.
And that's the realization that actually no, this isn't a wild animal. They're up against something. It still
Mhm.
takes them a little while to fully decipher that it is a real leprechaun.
It is genuinely a leprechaun. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's
Hmm.
that great scene when they're in the house and Lep's kind of hiding in the drawers and stuff, and
Hmm.
Nathan goes to open that drawer and he grabs him by the balls. He grabs his nuts.
Yeah, that's it. They're going for the last fucking cabinet, and the fucking drawer opens up, and he goes, "Yeah!" Fucking
Where did
gets
that
him.
come from? Like,
Oh man, there's so many wee moments in this that just fucking take me by surprise. There's a moment sort of later in the film, when they're in the barn, and Nathan's gone out and attempted to chase the leprechaun outside the house,
mhm,
but there's been a bear trap set outside the house, and Nathan's leg gets caught in it,
mhm.
and they go, was it the leprechaun's like, "Oh, let's play surgeon," and he fucking pulls an axe out and he's just about to go for Nathan's leg, and he ends up, I think, does Nathan manages to like hit him, and then they sort of startle him off.
Mhm.
So yeah, Nathan basically spends like the last third of the film with a fucking injured leg, which they don't think, they took the dad to the hospital for the bitten hand. They never think to maybe, let's get Nathan, especially when, because uh, what is Jennifer Aniston's name in this? I can't remember.
Tory.
She ends up going off later anyway to go to the care home to meet with Dan O'Grady, but she never thinks I should probably take
Yeah,
Nathan with me because he's hurt. He's
yeah.
he's potentially bleeding to death.
And like the thing is,
Uh,
if you stand in a bear trap, like your ankle's pure shattered.
Oh yeah,
You know,
like yeah,
you're not going to be able to hobble around in that, and
no, and
they don't really touch on it much after that.
he does some hobbling, but they do because there's the one fucking and it absolutely I had completely forgot about it, but it fucking floored me, man. Whenever so the leprechaun is like fighting Alex in the barn,
Hmm.
and that's when
Oh
Ozzy
yes, yes,
reveals
yes,
that
yes.
he's got the gold in his stomach and runs off, and the leprechaun goes to run after him, and Nathan kind of steps forward to like stop him, but the fucking leprechaun goes, "How's your leg?" and fucking sweeps him,
Quick the leg.
sweeps the leg from under him, and floors him.
That was a wee throwback to
Oh,
the Karate Kid.
oh,
Sweep
fuck.
the leg.
Sweep the leg. Fuck, man. The fucking just the way he goes, how's the leg? And just fucking floors him. I fucking lost it.
I know.
Oh, and it's such a wee fucking quick. It's so quick. Like it's so quick that if you weren't listening, if you weren't paying attention, you'd fucking miss it. But it fucking killed me. How's the leg? And fucking just knocks him down.
It's very
Oh,
slapstick visually because we Warwick Davis's wee small legs. He doesn't even really connect with
yeah.
them, and then Nathan's like
No.
falls down.
Just fucking couch.
It's class. That's class.
Oh, his leg.
And then there was
Oh,
that great scene where you talked about A Nightmare on Elm Street in the hospital with the running down the aisle. But there's the scene where she's trying to ring and she picks the phone up and she's talking to them on the phone, but it's actually Lep talking. It's not the sheriff, it's not the
yeah.
cops. And then she throws the phone down
Which
and
again, the phone's never fucking connected to the wall. You
yeah,
notice
it's
that?
completely
Just
taken out of Nightmare on Elm Street. And instead of Freddy's tongue coming out and being like, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy," his wee hand comes out.
he goes, "Do you need a hand? Do you need a hand?" The wee tiny hand comes out. Fuck,
Love
I
it.
love that.
Love that,
That
man.
fucking like again, both times I've watched it, like I was ready for it the second time I was watching it, but I was like, I am so excited for this. I know it's coming and I fucking love it. But yeah, it's straight out of Elm Street and just even the line, the whole doing like a wee fucking line before
Mhm,
the thing
mhm.
happens. But that, do you need a hand? And we fucking
Yeah.
hand coming out. Killer.
Um,
Absolutely killer. Like,
so they eventually realize what they have to do. They go see O'Grady, which we've already mentioned,
yeah.
and they find out that they need this four-leaf clover, and then he dies straight away. So
No.
they
Well,
do.
sure.
They
Sure, because what is it? She sneaks in. So right, this is one of the scenes that, you talked about reshoots and how sometimes the edit was a bit jarring and did something add up. So whenever she goes into, so they manage, she actually, that's the shoe scene. They distract the leprechaun
mhm,
by throwing
yeah,
shoes out the house, so that she can jump in the Jeep and drive to the care home, and he's got to shine them all. Fucking him scrabbling about the ground trying to shine a load of fucking shoes is just like
great.
it's just such a fucking mad scene. But she gets to the care home and security guard's sleeping, and there's like a wee fucking clipboard with all the names and the room numbers on it. But the way they shoot that, it doesn't actually show Jennifer Aniston's head, and the hair's a bit off from the
Mm.
back, and even just the look. Do you think that scene was a reshoot? The scene with and,
It could have
and
been,
Jennifer Aniston didn't do it.
or maybe
I
it was just not necessarily a reshoot, but something she wasn't available at the time, and
maybe
they were like, we need this little
just
segue
that
scene just to go
so
in.
that she knows what room to go to. But yeah, that watching that scene, I was like, I don't think that's Jennifer Aniston. Watching it the
Uh,
second time, I was like, I don't think that's Jennifer Aniston. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know if that was the case, but that's just where I got from that. But yes, she finds out she's going through the list and sees Dan O'Grady's name and puts the thing back down. And just as the security guard wakes up, she's managed to walk off. Ooh.
mhm.
Um, and then she gets to the room and was it? It's Dan from the back sitting in his wheelchair, and she's like, "Oh, Mr. O'Grady, the leprechaun's back. We need you to tell us. We need your help to kill him to get rid of him." And we just hear Dan O'Grady's kind of voice, but starts going to the leprechaun voice, going, "There's only one way to kill a leprechaun, and I'll never tell you." He fucking turns around, and it's the fucking
I know,
leprechaun with a wig on.
I know. We
And then
genuinely
he
fucking.
fucking chases her in the fucking corridors in a fucking wheelchair,
It's
man. And then it's not even because she manages to outrun him into the fucking elevator, and then fucking the real Daniel Grady falls from the fucking roof of the elevator at her and just like dangles her. But what fucking killed me was that he goes, he obviously, she's like, "Oh, Dan, let me help you down." And he's like, "No, it's too late. The leprechaun got me. You'll have to use a 4-leaf clover. You have to put it on his skin to kill him." And then he dies, but he's hanging upside down, but he still like puts his head to his chest. He's hanging upside down.
gravity doesn't exist in this film.
Oh man, it fucking just the way he's dangling upside down and just goes.
But before he dies, he tells her, "Oh, you've got the 4-leaf clover. There's one in the patch outside the
Yeah,
house.
there's
It's
one.
there. It's
Yeah,
definitely there."
it's by the well, which again, and then she goes and jumps in her Jeep, which is pursued by the fucking wheelchair leprechaun fucking chasing after her. Was whenever he first chases after because again it's so slapstick, it's such a silly slapstick
Yeah,
scene
it's sped
which
up like.
completely but before that, after he stops being distracted by the shoes and goes to go after her on her way to the care home, he fucking magically makes some fucking rollerblades. He fucking chasing after her, but she does like a sharp turn and he fucking goes through a fence and leaves a fucking
Yeah,
leprechaun hole.
it's like Looney Tunes for fuck's sake.
Oh, so Looney Tunes, so slapstick is so fucking silly. But yeah, so she fucking does a big fucking skid back into the fucking farmyard in her Jeep when she gets back to the homestead, and then jumps out straight away. And of course, isn't the fucking clover patch illuminated bright green?
Yes,
Of
there's a
course,
green light
yeah, which
shining on it. Because when she goes in, her hands start lighting up, and you're like,
everything just like some
"What's
green.
going on
Yeah.
here?"
It's the power of the clover,
Oh,
by
it's
the
magic. It's
power of the
magic.
clover.
I want to just
Uh,
go back to that chase scene because that was like the French Connection level cinematic genius. That chase scene where he was like on the wee wheelchair, absolutely
oh,
stunning.
so funny.
This is cinema. So yeah, so they eventually get the clover. It takes them a little while to find it, but Ozzy makes Tory believe, and she
Oh,
finds
you
it.
gotta
She
believe.
finds the clover.
So Ozzy is going to sacrifice himself. He's like, coins him. The leprechaun knows. The leprechaun jumps on him and he starts fucking slashing him with a buckle and he's cutting across his stomach and all. And then Alex grabs the 4-leaf clover off her and he
Hmm.
has a bit of chewing gum in his mouth and he fucking squishes the clover into the chewing gum and then fucking slingshot. And
Oh
he's like,
yeah,
"Fuck you, Lucky Charms." And he
I
fucking
know.
fires it into the leprechaun's mouth. And then the leprechaun's like, and fucking stumbles back and is like lying against the well.
Well, yep.
And he fucking does the gremlins.
Yep.
He fucking like Spike at the end of Gremlins just starts
Mhm.
to dissolve and you see the wee fucking skeleton and all and it's all gooey and he's like, "I'll be back to get me gold."
You can't kill me forever. I'll be back.
Yeah. All right.
I
Okay.
thought I was like, no, is that not the rule that you can kill them with a
Yeah,
four-leaf
is
clover?
that's how it's meant to be done
That's
and the
that's important information that was left that Dan O'Grady forgot to tell her.
Yeah, in fact, actually, he can just come back, and then of course we get his wee rhyme. Was it curse this well in which I dwell, um, until my curse can be broken? Is that it? Something like that. Curse this well in which I
Right,
dwell
that's
until
it.
my curse can be broken. I think that's something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, basically, when you see all these wee like green spurty
The
things
spell,
fly out of the
the
well.
spell.
Yeah,
Does he not say spell instead of curse?
Bell. Yeah, that's yeah,
That's it.
yeah, yeah. But
Yes.
yeah,
So,
that's pretty much how it then ends. And obviously, it's like, oh, we could be back for
uh,
another 6 or 7 films.
yes, and there is a little bit of a one last scare, but then they blow up the well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what you have to do with leprechauns as well. You have to blow them
Mhm.
up.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. I fucking Nathan fucking blows. It's the bit even before all. It's whenever Jennifer Aniston first goes out with the gun, and Nathan's like, "Do you know how to use that thing?" And she fucking cocks it like real fucking like I know what I'm doing, and then just goes, "No."
I thought she was going to say something real
Yeah,
badass, like
yeah, and then
you
it's just,
know.
no.
I know.
Oh
Fair
fuck.
play there. Fair play
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But yeah, so end of the film, they all survive.
Mhm.
We assume
Dad
the
comes back
dad.
with the
Yeah, I
police.
was going to say we assume
Mhm.
the dad's fine, but then you see him and he's grand,
Mhm.
and Nathan's leg's grand. Sure, he doesn't need
It
his
doesn't
ankle.
matter.
He's fine.
Yeah, just let him fucking hobble about. It's all
I
right.
know.
It's all right.
He doesn't.
Yeah,
He only needs one ankle to climb ladders and paint houses and stuff.
yeah.
Um, it'll be grand. It'll be absolutely grand. Like, sure, it'll be grand.
That'd be sweet. Yeah,
So anyway, yeah. So that was the Leprechaun. I still love the film.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, we know it's not the greatest film ever made,
yeah. It's
but
it's it's TV. I would say it's just a slight step above TV movie.
mm,
Is like TV straight to VHS, just a wee bit above that.
mhm, mhm. It did spawn 6 sequels in total.
Hmm.
So there's four that Warwick is in. So Leprechaun 1, 2, 3, and 4. Part 4 is in space.
Hmm.
And then there's
Leprechaun in the
excuse me,
Hood.
Leprechaun in the Hood. There's Leprechaun Origins and
Hmm.
Leprechaun Returns, which was the last one in 2018. And as I said earlier on in this episode, that Lionsgate are working on a reboot, which I don't think
Reboot.
Warwick's involved in.
Do
But
we?
I'm really excited to see more Leprechaun films.
I was going to say, Gav, we've not got Nightmare on Elm Street anymore.
Yes,
We're Nightmare on Elm Street out.
yes.
Do we need a new series to talk about each
I'm
season?
so glad you said that because at the,
And
at the bottom here I
does
have
it need
written
to be Leprechaun?
at the bottom I have written new franchise?
New
Question mark.
franchise? I mean, let us
So
know in the comments. We're keen.
yes,
Are you?
yes. We put that out there a few weeks ago. What do we need to tackle another franchise? And I think we do. And I feel like this
Yeah.
franchise is the one that we need to tackle.
I think this one could. I'm really excited. So I haven't watched. I was looking at Leprechaun 2 last night and was like, well, I get stuck into Leprechaun 2, but it was
Uh,
too late. I was tired and I was like, no, I wouldn't be able to give it my full attention. I get the idea though. I like the premise, the wee
mm,
synopsis saying about, he's looking a wife, which looks to me just a case of him doing a bit of grabbing.
mm,
So I'm interested. I'm bewildered but excited for that. And I also know that Leprechaun in the Hood is supposed to be fucking phenomenal.
yes.
So yes, I'm excited. I think we should do this. Let us know in the comments below if you're as excited as we are.
Hmm. I'm excited too because I've seen the second one. I don't think I've seen the third or any of the later ones. I've seen obviously footage from it and posters and all that sort of stills and all that sort of stuff. So eager to get to space, eager to get to the hood as
Get to
well.
the hood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. But I really enjoyed talking about Leprechaun with you today, Danny.
Oh man,
Um,
it's been cracker.
yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation too. Please, as always, leave comments below if you like the film and what's your favorite scenes, and even talk about some of the sequels that we'll get to eventually down the line. But as always, please go and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's at the Fright Club NI, and check out our Facebook page as well, and the website at www.thefrightclubni.com.
Don't forget to like the video, comment on the video, and do a little subscribe. Hit that bell icon to get notified whenever we post new videos. And also, happy St. Patrick's Day,
Happy St.
my
Patrick's
lads and my
Day! My
lasses.
less potatoes.
My gold.
Before we head out, I just want and a very important question to ask here. Is this the
Oh,
greatest film ever made about a leprechaun? I
ooh.
think it is.
Hmm.
Um,
Kind of.
there's
What
not
other
many
ones
out
are there? I
there.
was going to say, like, what other
Well,
ones?
outside of this franchise, there's a very famous one called Darby O'Gill
There we go.
and the
And the
Little
little
People,
people.
which,
Yes.
is definitely not a horror film, but terrified
No.
me in school. I
The
watched it in
fucking
school.
banshee
The
scene.
Banshees,
Is that what
yep,
you're talking about? Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
an early appearance from Sean Connery as well. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, let us know. Is this the greatest Leprechaun film ever, or is there other Leprechaun films out there, not in this franchise,
No,
other Leprechaun films out there that we should
you should be
put
aware of.
put our eyes on?
Hmm.
And if
Hmm.
so, please leave your answer in the comments below. But will be back in 2 weeks. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
A top of the morning to you.
Keep your hands off my gold.
Boy.
My boy now.